Vinaka, we may be seated. Bula, Namaste, Nwaya, and welcome to this year's Global Recycling Day event with our theme, Plastic-Free Pacific, a Plea. My name is John Wilson, and I'll be your MC for the first part of the formalities. I would also like to use this opportunity to welcome our chief guest, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Fiji, Honorable Sitiveni Rabuka, and his wife, Mrs. Sulueti Rabuka, by way of garlanding. If I can request Diola and Bitila from Pacific Recycling Foundation team to garland our chief guests. Vinaka. At this moment, to our chief guests, Mr. and Mrs. Rabuka, if I can please ask Mr. Dale. On behalf of the management and staff of Pacific Recycling Foundation, we would like to present you with these gifts as a token of our appreciation in accepting our invitation to officiate today's event. Vinaka. We would also like to present, as a token of our appreciation to our guest speakers, the same gesture. If Mr. Deo could please present this to our guest speakers, and if I could ask our guest speakers to please come up in the front. Mr. Alex Patterson, Mr. Brent Hill, Ms. Del Rio, and Mr. Anigan. Thank you very much. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Speaker of Parliament and Assistant Minister for Local Government, Honorable Lenore Ngeringerintapua, who's present with us here this morning. To our invited guests, members of the Diplomatic Corps, recycling advocates, and who are watching live and present here this morning, thank you and welcome. We would also like to acknowledge the presence of local and international media who are present here today. And today's event would not have been possible without partners. And we would like to thank and acknowledge our major partner, Tourism Fiji, who has been instrumental in bringing the event here today. To our official partners, Swire Shipping, Pacific Energy, and Fiji National University, as well as our support partners, BSP Life, Pure Fiji, Eskimotos, and RC Manubai. Without further ado, I would like to officially begin the Global Recycling Day with an a cappella performance done by the Manavia group, who will perform the Malanga Chant, which is infused with the tabla performance done by Mr. Ardash. This Malanga Chant is an Itauke traditional piece to sail on sea and a rendition of a calling to our people to prepare for the journey. This infusion between an Itauke chant with a Hindi tabla speaks volumes of Fiji's heritage, with being culturally diverse in bringing different cultures together. Vinaka.
Manua Melsa, Oceania, Pacifica, Dirina Bay. applause, please. Thank you.
To give the opening remarks this morning is the Director CEO of Waste Recyclers Fiji Limited and founder of Pacific Recycling Foundation, Mr. Amitesh Deo. Mr. Deo has been in the waste management space for over 17 years. He is a human rights activist with a strong acumen for environment sustainability. Mr. Deo has a bachelor's in business and administration from Cambridge International College, London. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Mr. Deo.
Thank you. Good morning, all. I try my best to hold my emotions because this is an important day and an important moment for us, so please bear with me if I do lose it. The Honourable Prime Minister, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Climate Change, Environment, Civil Service, Information, Public Enterprise, Honourable Sitiveni Rabuka, guest speakers, our partners, invited guests, the women collection pillars of recycling from Bonato, our recycling advocates, media partners, colleagues, and those joining us on our virtual platform from Fiji, Pacific, or anywhere else in the world. Welcome to our Global Recycling Day 2023. Today is a historical day for us recycling advocates and those involved in the recycling space and waste picking in Fiji for many reasons. Why historical? Whenever history will be recounted, today, March 18, 2023, will be remembered as a day, despite the pushbacks and being trivialized, a group of recycling advocates managed to bring together like-minded and passionate individuals to start a new journey of movement building in recycling and waste management. A day when in Fiji, its national leaders are no longer embarrassed of us recycling advocates and those involved in waste picking and are willing to stand next to us in solidarity of our walk, vision and commitment. A day dedicated to Plastic Free Day, when we can stop and not only reflect on the use of our plastic and its impact, but how we are disposing of waste plastic. And therefore March 18, 2023 will be historic for us, as we will have an official declaration of something we hold very close to our heart by the Honourable Prime Minister. This year's Global Recycling Day is dedicated to our internally agreed theme, which represents the voice of people not only in Fiji, but the Pacific. Our theme, Plastic Free Pacific, a plea, is to bring realization of the impact of plastic pollution on our environment, food chain supply, and livelihood. However, we acknowledge that it will be very difficult or almost impossible to completely get away from using plastic. And therefore, us as recycling advocates are promoting that recycling is one of the best practice options that is available to free Pacific from plastic pollution. At a very personal level, today represents an important intersection in our lives at Waste Recyclers Fiji Limited and Pacific Recycling Foundation. An intersection where purpose meets passion. Yes, we agree that there is a lot of work that needs to be done. We have often been asked that after 28 years why recycling has never been a mainstream practice. We have seen our fair share of pushbacks and challenges. From lack of stakeholder support to not even being recognized as an industry, we've witnessed many pushbacks. In recent times, we could not even use the word struggles or challenges when talking about our work. In roundtable discussions, and I've said about this yesterday, we had to water down our messages, our discussion topics, and even had to change names of events just to ensure that certain government agencies can participate. I still have email correspondence where I was asked if we can get an overseas consultant to represent us at a global meeting, as despite being in operations for all these years, we were told that we might not be well received as experts as we were locals. I still think of the day when somebody who regards himself as a media expert in this country suggested that I change my name from Amitesh Deo to something more interesting, maybe add a foreign surname. Apparently my name is too basic, and is very local, so it will not get the traction the recycling messages deserves. Amid all the pushback and corporate bullying and seemingly expert advice, we remain true to our cause. We represented our people in all recycling forums and refused to change our names as it is our identity. We remain committed to our cause of changing the landscape of waste management in Fiji and positively impacting the lives of those engaged in informal waste picking. We continue to advocate for the recognition of local knowledge in the development of not just recycling space, but all sectors. Yes, we will always have space and need for foreign experts, and especially on best practices, but never at the expense of local knowledge or undermining local ownership of programs. We also acknowledge the changing political environment in Fiji, where we are now able to express our struggles and challenges without the need for always being mindful that it might be misunderstood or we might end up upsetting someone. True change is only possible if there is freedom. Yesterday, we were able to use the same topic and talk about struggles and challenges in the recycling space, which we could not do sometime last year. For us itself, as recycling advocates, this is a huge victory. We will continue to demand that any discussion in recycling must involve us, those of us who have been in this space and those who continue to work with grassroots communities. One of our fundamental principles, borrowed from the disability groups, is nothing about us without us. Thus, our plea to all stakeholders and development partners here today is start listening to our messages and respect local knowledge and take us with the journey that you want him to take. We also would like to highlight the human aspect of waste management and the deeply rooted stigma attached to waste picking. We operate on the principles of do no harm, and while we encourage changes in the waste management space, our plea to everyone is to ensure that these changes have a positive impact on those involved in the space and those who are actively working in that area. Through this movement we are building, we also are an active voice of those involved in informal waste picking, the group that the world calls informal waste pickers, but here locally we call them collection pillars of recycling. This name was selected last year when we did a workshop in partnership with Fiji Women's Crisis Center, IUC and Lautoka City Council, where a group of 16 women highlighted that the name informal waste picker itself was contributing to a stigma that this industry usually faces. I'm happy that of those 16 women, 8 of them are here with us today. There are several hundred individuals engaged in informal waste picking in Fiji, in Suva, Bar, Reki Reki, Tavua, Nandi, Lautoka, Singatoka, and even on Vanuatu. There are thousands of individuals and groups involved in this work in the Pacific region and around the world. The work done by these individuals in collecting recyclables from our environment, such as dump sites, landfills, streets, and public places, continue to be disregarded and unappreciated. Municipal councils or certain municipal councils regard these individuals as nuisance, and sometimes the general public views these groups as mentally challenged or socially unfit. There is a failure by many to understand the important work that those involved in waste picking do every day of their lives. There is also a failure by society to realize that many of these individuals have either gone through or are still going through some sort of trauma or difficulty in our lives. Many of us have read of our Honorable Prime Minister at a point in his life where injustice had been done. He had resorted to collecting used plastic bottles. I remember when this article was first published, there was a lot of emotion shared by people in our movement, as we finally had a leader who was able to talk about this experience and not be embarrassed. Many individuals engaged in waste picking continue to live their life of trauma. My personal message to those involved in informal waste picking, our CPRs in Fiji and around the world, and this message again is inspired by many lives in this room, including the Honorable Prime Ministers, is that you can continue to heal and be driven towards your goal at the same time. I just had this conversation with the Honorable Prime Minister when we were meeting just a while ago, and this really resonates with many of our experiences. Healing from your trauma and bad experience, of or loss of someone special, being cheated or abused or victimized, is a process. You do not have to wait to be healed from a bad experience to start the journey of being driven to your goals. No, both the process of healing and being driven to your goals can happen at the same time. I would also like to acknowledge our partners who have continued to support us at different points in our life and through very difficult journeys. Those of you who are in the room, I can't acknowledge all of you, but many of you have been there during very, very dark days of our life. I would also like to acknowledge the partners for this event: Tourism Fiji, Swire Shipping, Pacific Energy, Fiji National University, as well as support partners RC Manubai, Esco Motors, BSP Life and PO Fiji. I also want to acknowledge in particular Tourism Fiji and Brent and his team in particular. When we talk about taking our message forward and talking about these things, we've been working with this group now for a few months in trying to prepare for this event and trying to take recycling forward. One thing that I really acknowledge is their effective partnership approach, where they allow us to be ourselves, listen to us, and they also very well resonate with that. What we cherish is individual identities. So I really acknowledge Brent, your team, Lee, and everybody else who is part of Tourism Fiji for making this happen. These partnerships also give validation to the human aspects of waste management and is aligned with our long-term vision that through active participation of all sectors and individuals in recycling, we will be able to capture enough volumes of recyclables that will justify a large capital investment into recycling or upcycling facilities in Fiji. This also means that progressively we will be able to have a transition of individuals engaged in informal waste picking to green jobs. I was told just 2 weeks ago that this is a very ambitious dream and I should keep on dreaming, and that's exactly what I will do, is I'll keep on dreaming, but I need support, and that's what this movement is about. That's what this call is about for today. Finally, we met last year on the same day, on 18th March, and we had left with a promise that we will meet exactly 1 year to talk about what we did during that 1 year, to reflect on the challenges, and to also cherish and celebrate some of our wins and victories. Today, we live up to that promise. I now invite you all, recycling advocates, as you all are, to cherish our identity and to celebrate our work with us. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deo. Ladies and gentlemen, to give his address is the Honorable Prime Minister. Mr. Rabuka was elected Prime Minister of Fiji on the floor of Fiji's Parliament on the 24th of December 2022, following the country's general elections 10 days earlier. He became Fiji's 7th elected Prime Minister, but the first to be elected in Parliament. He also first served as Prime Minister of Fiji for 7 years between 1992 and 1999. He hails from the village of Drekiniwai in the district of Navatu in the province of Dhakonjove. Mr. Rabuka joined the Fiji military forces, where he retired as Major General 23 years later. During his time in the military, Mr. Rabuka rose in the ranks in various leadership roles, from commanding battalions on international missions to eventually being the commander of the Fiji military forces. Mr. Rabuka has received many medals, including a Bravery Medal in 1980 for rescuing a senior French officer while under hostile enemy fire. He holds a master's degree in military science from Madras University in India in 1979 and an honorary doctorate from the Central Queensland University in 1998. Mr. Rabuka is married to retired school teacher Mrs. Sulueti Tuloma Rabuka. They have 2 daughters and 2 sons, 7 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the Honorable Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka.
Good morning, honorable members of Parliament, members of the diplomatic corps. Any here? Okay. This is a problem with preparing a speech without knowing fully about the event. Management and staff of the Waste Recyclers Fiji Limited and Pacific Recycling Foundation, the Global Recycling Day partners, Tourism Fiji, Swire Shipping, Pacific Energy, Fiji National University, key stakeholders and partners working in the recycling space, recycling advocates. I think that name is what you now use. You used to be recycling what? Ambassador? No, you were advocate before, and then ambassador, now back to advocate. Okay. Some people didn't like advocates. It sounded like a group of anti-government workers. Now you're back as advocates and you can work against government. It doesn't matter as long as we save the world. Collection pillars of recycling, formerly known as informal waste pickers. I welcome you, fellow pickers. Ladies and gentlemen, Nisam Bulwenak, a very good morning to you all. Can you hear me well? I couldn't hear it properly sitting here. Okay, Lanama, Pradeep, Ajay, you can hear me? Good. Sometimes we're too polite to speak out and say, we cannot hear you. We can't work out the words you're saying. And I hope you can hear me and understand me. Wonderful to be here today. I was telling the two gentlemen who came to welcome me and put me in a little room because you were all not ready. That's why I've always told my minders, don't be early. It's better to be late. Always better to be late. If you're early, everybody who comes in late or on time will feel guilty. That is the benefit of having a recycled Prime Minister. "24 years in the wilderness was not in vain." You go back and you're part of the audience and you listen to the Prime Minister and you go away thinking that was a totally useless, bloody speech. But you're too polite to tell him you might lose your job. Now, don't worry about losing your job. I lost mine and I was recycled and I'm now back. I believe I'll be a better Prime Minister this time because of that period in the wilderness. That period in the dump until somebody picks you up, takes you out to a recycler who reforms you, remakes you, and you come back better. Today is Global Recycling Day, and I'm glad to be part of it. You may have heard my story. I told my host this morning that when Prime Minister Bainimarama took away my pensions and my benefits, I was stuck. I had a big pile of debts. But there was a very good vehicle recycler or used motor vehicle dealer. I went and bought one from him, the only one I could afford. And used that to buy coconuts from my village. And brought the coconuts to food processors, Fiji, in Watuanga. And filled up the truck with the plastic bottles that the school children in my village school would be collecting of the beach, of the river, They initially used it to string them with a rope and form the fence around the school. The excess they just piled up. Nobody in South was collecting plastic bottles. So I brought them all the way back to Fiji, to Suva, because they could then be taken to Coca-Cola facilities in Lodala. So that's how I started collecting plastic bottles. They gave me the big bag, probably made of recycled plastic, and filled those up. And one morning I was collecting bottles from the seawall in Lodala, when I met somebody with a problem arm, collecting one hand, and I asked him, "Where are you from?" "From Dr. Rabe." "Where?" "Sitiveni." "So you do this every day?" "Yes." So I said, "Okay, let's do it together." So we collected bottles that morning. I said, "Where do you take them?" "I put them in the Parantras by the bridge in Ratuanga." "Are you back into the stream?" No, I have some bags there." So we came back, picked up the bags, put them in my car, and we came out and filled up the big bag I had, took them to the recyclers, and he took all the money. Very smart, these plastic bottle collectors. We got our money, one lump, and I gave it to him. "That's yours." And we went, and we had breakfast? No. So we went to the next eating place, and we ate. And after that, I was waiting for him to pick up the money from his pocket, the money we got for our plastic bottles. But no, he waited for me to pay. So, they're very good, these plastic bottle pickers. So I paid, and we continued to collect bottles. We still have that big bag at home, and every time it's full, I go and look for Mika in Ratuanga, and we take them. Take the bag to Coca-Cola. But then they would throw away the colored ones. And this morning only, I found out that even the colored ones can be taken to another recycler, and they would use them. So now I have two bags at home, one colored ones and one's acceptable to Coca-Cola. So I'll look you up next time I fill that bottle up, that bag up. That's why waste recycling is very close to my heart. As we get to May and June, you will see a lot of men in Suva also walking along the seawall, picking up bamboo sticks. These are from the bamboo trees that are torn down by cyclones or soil erosion up the rivers of Vitilevu in the interior. It would be very difficult to go up there. You have to pick up your bows and arrows and fight the tribes until you get to her village. The Honorable Deputy Speaker's village is way up there. You have to fight all the hostile tribes to go and collect bamboos, but you wait for them out down the stream. They get washed down, you pick them up and use them for your yam gardens. Wakanda newbie. That's another way of reusing things that are brought down in the rivers, in the streams that we have. Otherwise, they'd be just left there, becoming an eyesore to the people who come and try to swim in the beach, and they wade through all this debris before they get to clean water. But we are here to talk about how we can use all these things, reuse, recycle, whatever we can do to lessen the damage caused by all the things that we find, we discover. I was in Rio 2 weeks ago. We were talking about climate change. And Senator John Kerry, the President of the United States Special Envoy for Climate Change, was there with me, and always next to each other in the front row, eating together at the same table. So I felt good. I'm up with the big boys. And I realized then that Fiji has got a very good reputation. But when I listened to the practitioners, to these two young men who received me this morning, I realized that it's all been for show. Here is when you come and talk to those that actually care for the nation, care for the universe. You do things that will better our future. And I thank you for that. It's not just setting up the world stage and reading from your prepared speeches and saying that you're a champion for this and champion for that. I want us all to be practitioners of what we preach. That we want to be practical about our care, to practice what we preach. In my time in office, I was the Prime Minister that sent a minister to attend the first World Conference in Rio. That was the beginning of the conference of parties talking about climate change. We're now into COP27, 27 years after that, after the first one was assembled. And I'm back as Prime Minister. And I promise to cooperate with all those that care for the world, care for the nation, and do what little they can. And this is not little, because I believe somebody has worked out that what we discard every year amounts to about 2 billion tons of waste. Is that correct? That's a lot of waste. And I believe that we can recycle 75% of that. That's 1.5 billion tons. Usable, reusable, leaving only 500 tons or 500 or 500,000 tons as waste. I think we are on our way to playing our part in what God had created the universe to be. That is to be perfect. He was very happy. And then we damaged it. We continued damaging it. We can continue spoiling it. And if we don't do anything, we'll run out of pure air to breathe and space to live on. There's so much waste. A lot of our bottle pickers are from informal settlements. We passed a paper in Cabinet on Tuesday about affordable housing, providing affordable housing. And we talked about what's usually called squatters and squatter settlements. At the end of our discussion, I looked around Cabinet and asked, has any of you ever lived in a squatter house? Nobody. And they almost dropped out of their seat when I said, I have. Rural to urban migration in Fiji forced a lot of us to live in informal settlements. Mr. Sharma, who lived in Canada at the time, had subdivided his land in Rewasa, Samambula. But there were some probably bought but vacant, not yet built on lots. So those young men who came from Vanuatu for secondary education in Witilevu were more comfortable living in those sheds that we had improvised on these vacant blocks. During school holidays, we live in those and pick up bottles, real bottles, milk bottles, beer bottles, and sell those for his block and bun. For some who may be looked down upon at this time, that is a way of living. That for them is life. And in my former government, you were talking about school dropouts. Now, as my minister for education, after discussing for about half an hour, he turned to me and he said, "Prime Minister, you haven't said anything." And I said, "What are dropouts?" Those that do not go on to tertiary education. And what is education? Read 3 R's. Read, write, and arithmetic. And I said, read is R, write is W, arithmetic is A. And you were my teacher. No wonder I was a dropout. I didn't go on to tertiary education. So what do we do with dropouts? We make them prime ministers. And almost all my cabinet ministers in that government were university graduates, and I wasn't. So it's not about education, certainly not the education that my minister defined as. But what do you do after school? We have to survive. And those of us that can, and we're grateful for those that have come forward to facilitate the recycling of the person. More than just recycling bottles and recycling waste. You're recycling a person, and you're renewing, remaking that person from a dropout to being a successful person, from a bottle picker to be a truck owner who can do some other business. I want to encourage you this morning. I'm going off my script, which was prepared by the environmental department in my office. I'm going out of that. It's more than the academic approach to what we're trying to do. It's a practical thing that we have to do. And how we, each of us, can facilitate and cooperate with those that are struggling, those that are really struggling to make something out of life. And when they look back, I made that life saving waste. That's the irony of it. Perhaps, maybe even a paradox, but it can work. It will work. If it doesn't work, we won't work. We won't survive. We won't live. We were talking this morning about what else can we do with recycled materials. I challenge them. What about using plastic for mesh to build reclaimed areas on? They said, we don't know, we haven't tried. Well, I'm just showing ideas. Maybe somebody in the future will be stupid enough to try and then find out that it can work. Yesterday, I also talking to my friends in Australia and New Zealand who encouraged me to dream without boundaries. And when I lost the election in 1999, they came and we got together in Deumba. That's where they told me, Steve, dream without the boundaries. We can all dream without the boundaries. The good thing about dreams is that there's no boundaries. You dream of yourself jumping between 2 aircraft in the air, only to fall through and wake up and realize it was just a dream. But you jumped. As I said, the U.S. Environment Protection Agency, EPA, estimated that 75% of all waste can be recycled or repurposed. That's a good word, repurposed. From a knocked out politician repurposed back into being an active politician. So you can repurpose plastic from a bottle to something else, Rex to something else. When I spoke in Panama, I told the world, we have too many cars on our roads. Most of those were end-of-life cars in the developed countries, shipped to Fiji to be used by those that cannot afford to have cars and more difficult to afford fuel because the engines are inefficient. So you use more fuel, oil, and lubricants to keep them going. So we struggle just to move from point A to point B, perhaps sacrificing good food prices to buy and keep your car moving. I encourage you all to continue to do. In our local context here, recycling and reusing, our economic life is heavily reliant on our environment. We tell the tourists who come, and they're entertained by young people who can sing, people who can dance. They come and look at our beaches and our oceans in their pristine appearance and form. Maybe we would like to continue to have them coming here. But if you're not careful, they'll be swimming among plastic bottles rather than among the beautiful fish and coral they now see. There have been efforts from private recycling facilities and municipalities to set up recycling stations for the purpose of recovery of materials. And I encourage you to continue. I also encourage you to develop many more facilities. Then I can have a choice of where to take my plastic bottles. You also have the iRecycle Hub. Whoever's responsible for that, put your hand up. Well done. Only this morning I found out where he operates from, so I know where to go. Maybe something out there in Cornevia. Also take like colored bottles, not the ones that I can take to Coca-Cola. The work of Waste Recyclers Fiji Limited and the Pacific Recycling Foundation is exemplary in the waste management and recycling space in Fiji. My government started in the 1990s, the landfill. It was a way of moving away from lami. But we have not done it well. We've not done it properly. All the things that we should have done was not done. And we're learning again that landfill is not the total answer. There's a bit more work in separating things from other things that get decomposed. Those that cannot be decomposed will have to be recycled or reused or reformed or restructured to something else that can be used. I congratulate you all. I congratulate you all for what you're doing. And today we've come together to celebrate Global Recycling Day 2023. And I have been invited to do the honor of some unveiling or some. We're going to do that. I'm proud to be here because of that. The journey of the world leaders towards trying to control climate change we entered into as a nation in 1993 when I was Prime Minister. Now we are coming to a time when we are almost surrendering. There are people and technologies developed for us to fight back. We would like to achieve those global objectives of combating our emissions and our destruction of the universe. I was with the owners of Fiji Water last week, and we saw how much money they donate to Caltech, how much work they donate to ocean and space research. And they showed me how, from behind the sun, you can calculate and work out and actually determine the height of the water at a certain time, seawater. So if we can all put all these agencies together, we will be able to see and measure and understand what is going on, and together we can counter with, at the moment, little work, little projects, but together very big and major projects in the conservation of the universe we live on and live in. So this morning, thank you very much for your invitation. Congratulations to the practitioners of this noble program and project, and I have the honor to be part of this and for the unveiling of your plaque commemorating Global Recycling Day 2023. Congratulations once again for all your efforts, and thank you for your invitation. MC?
Thank you, Mr. Rabuka, for your inspiring and motivational speech that will empower us all to join the movement of best practices in recycling. Pacific Islands contribute as little as 1.3% of the world's plastic pollution, nor do we produce plastic polymers. However, our Pacific Islands region is grossly and disproportionately affected by its impacts. Plastic accounts for at least 85% of the total marine waste, that is equivalent of one rubbish truck of plastic waste being dumped into our ocean each minute. We acknowledge that we cannot be free from plastic, as it has become part of our daily lives. But what we can do is encourage each and every one of you to be responsible users of plastic. The key word there is responsible users of plastic, and start recycling. With these words, I would now like to ask Mr. Dale to invite our Honorable Prime Minister to officially endorse the Recycling Foundation's Plastic Free Day by signing this artwork done by Neha Chand. This artwork has been carefully put together by the talented artist Neha Chand, who is actually here today with us. Neha, if you can please stand. Neha had put this piece together especially for this event in a period of just 5 days. Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. If you can please be seated. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this officially marks March 18th, not just Global Recycling Day, but it also marks Plastic Free Day here in Fiji. Thank you very much, the Honorable Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, this next performance is a Hindi number called Ashaye. Ashaye is plural for the Hindi word Asha, which means hope. This song is based on one's desires and hopes to achieve great success through their determination, perseverance, and the attitude of just not giving up. There should be an attack in every attempt you make, that even crossing the oceans can become a small task. If you have your eyes stuck on your goals, nothing is difficult. Vinaka.
आशाएं आशाएं, कुछ पाने की हो आस आस, कोई अरमा हो जो खास खास आशाएं, हर कोशिश पे हो वार वार करे दरिया को जो आर पार आशाएं, तूफानों को चीर ले, मंजिलों को चीर ले, आशाएं खिले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी, आशाएं खिले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी। लेके खुशी अपने संग तुझको बहा, जन्नत से मुलाकात हो, पूरी हो तेरी है दुआ, आशाएं खिले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी, आशाएं खिले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी।
Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Sitiveni Rabuka, esteemed guests, to our viewers joining us around the world, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mbulabinaka. My name is Lee Howard. I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Tourism Fiji. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here. The Recycling on the Go program is an initiative of the Pacific Recycling Foundation and Swire Shipping. The program aims to develop a sense of awareness within schools to usher in a different perspective on the concept of recycling, which we hope to have a ripple effect. The Rogue Ambassadors are unique individuals from different backgrounds who all have one goal and interest, that is to create awareness of recycling. To be a Rogue Ambassador means to have a passion for recycling. Joining me on stage shortly, ladies and gentlemen, is Regional Manager for Pacific Islands for Swire Shipping. Mr. Alex Patterson has been with Swire Shipping for 20 years and has held management positions in Papua New Guinea, Australia, Canada, and the USA before coming to Fiji. He's very passionate about sustainable development and keen to see our communities thrive and become part of the circular economy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Alex Patterson.
Vanaka, just bear with me, I am not recycling today. I've gone digital and so I don't have to recycle any paper. So bear with me please, thank you. And also I'm too old and I cannot see a phone. So, Honourable Prime Minister, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Amitesh Deo, Tourism Fiji CEO, Mr. Brent Hill, Ms. Dawn Delt from UNDP, Mr. Angan from USAID, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and not forgetting our heroes of our communities, this collection of pillars of recycling. A big hand. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to give the opportunity to address you all today. So wouldn't it be nice to have a plastic-free world where nothing is considered to be trash but a treasure instead? A green world where you could breathe in peace and let nature nurture you. In the 50 years of Swire shipping existence, we have seen and experienced the impacts of climate change and waste management issues across the entire Pacific. Hence, we have dedicated sustainability development team who design and execute our SD projects across the Pacific, which benefits the environment and the communities in which we serve. We want to promote the vision we established the Moana Taka Partnership in 2018, where we provided freight-free shipments for low-value, non-commercial waste. Swire Shipping has been bringing in finished goods to the Pacific for decades. We realize that the packaging of these finished goods is often discarded into the landfills. Thus, this makes us part of the problem. To be part of the solution, we started investing in projects to influence behavioral change across the Pacific. The Moana Taka Partnership taught us that there's a huge gap between disseminating knowledge on recycling and actually practicing it. We saw a need to properly educate the younger generation and provide them the platform to practice recycling under the guidance of some experts, in this case Waste Recyclers Fiji. So this is how the Recycling on the Go Ambassador program was born. A secondary school of more than 800 students, 24 ambassadors were chosen. They were trained and given the opportunity to explore and understand the issues associated with waste management. On this day, 18th of March, we celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Moana Taka Partnership and the successful completion of the Rogue Ambassador pilot project. It also gives me great pleasure to pledge the expansion of the Rogue Ambassador project. We'll put into These will be put through 2 new schools in Fiji. We hope this project continues to challenge the mindset and preconceived ideas and influence behavioral change management, especially in our younger generation. These ambassadors will lead our nation and change and be the change agents. So in other words, we need this generation to teach us more mature people how to really do recycling properly. Through our schools today, we're advocating on principles of the 3 R's. They still lack avenues and resources of putting their knowledge into practice. Sustainable education should be part of the school curriculum, and adequate resources and support should be given and provided to all schools. This is our plea to the government today and to all our stakeholders involved. So let's share the commitment and join the movement for a greener, cleaner, healthier and brighter nation where recycling is not a choice, but simply a habit. With that, I thank you, and it would be remiss for me not to say one last thing. I'd say toso drua toso, naka.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Ladies and gentlemen, for thousands of years, our people has been telling stories. We've heard from the Honourable Prime Minister a very powerful story of his journey. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to share a story. A story of resilience and empowerment. A story of someone who joins us here today, a wonderful lady by the name of Miss Asenate Lewembeka. She has been a collection pillar for the last 2 decades, and for over 22 years, along with other CPRs, have done the hard yards on the tons of trash at Vunotu dump site, where she's been picking recyclables to feed and survive with her family. Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, you will see a video that PRF did with Asenate after the second wave of COVID-19, when they were asked to participate in a global informal waste picker forum, with Pacific Recycling Foundation as the only representative from the Pacific region to talk about informal waste picking. Asenate's story, with her consent, is part of the event as it represents empowerment, the impact of work, and the struggles of this group. At this point, folks, I'd like to also mention that when this video was made and recorded, there was a restriction for female waste pickers from entering the dump site of Lautoka for collection. However, Pacific Recycling Foundation and WRFL facilitated discussions with the CEO of the Senior Health Officer at Lautoka City Council, who facilitated access to these waste pickers to start their collection. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could turn your attention to the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, please another round of applause for Sanate, who's sitting here at the front. Following last year's Global Recycling Day celebration, where Ms. Lewenbecker and her colleagues were recognized for their work, Pacific Recycling Foundation and Waste Recycling Fiji's Limited led efforts to bring 16 female informal waste pickers from Lautoka to Suva for a week-long wellness and literacy workshop. The workshop touched on gender, human rights, legal literacy, financial literacy, and well-being for women waste pickers, and also assisted them with opening their bank accounts, the registration process of national identification cards, and retirement fund forms. This event was just the beginning of a series of workshops aimed at bringing the forefront the stigma attached to this trade, the name calling, and the difficulties that the community faced as waste pickers. Following these workshops, Pacific Recycling Foundation convened a consultation process with the same women which led to the name change of informal waste pickers to collection pillars of recycling. This was carried out in recognition of the deeply rooted stigma attached to the waste picking space. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to showcase one more video, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to now invite the a cappella group from Manavia to do a rendition that speaks to the work of resilience and empowerment. This next song, Te Malanga, is about a journey in search of paradise as our low-lying atolls faces serious destruction from the effects of global warming. Fiji is our destination and home that will never be forgotten. Big Banaka Bakalevu to the lyricist, Reverend Somali Yusefe.
Te olanga whanoki mu The Honourable Prime Minister, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, invited guests, and our CPR family. Bulu Vinaka, my name is Dhanjay Deo and I have the honour of introducing our next guest speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest speaker is the CEO of Tourism Fiji, Mr. Brent Hill. Mr. Hill, who is originally from Adelaide, Australia, is a multi-award winning marketer and a leader. He joined Tourism Fiji as CEO in mid-2021 after 6 years at the South Australian Tourism Commission. Mr. Hill led the incredible effort to reopen Fiji to the world in December 2021, achieving double the visitor arrivals target in 2022. And on a light note, I have been informed that Mr. Hill is a die-hard and a big fan of Melbourne Football Club in AFL as well as a Wallaby fan. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Mr. Brent Hill.
Naka, to the Prime Minister, the Honourable Sitiveni Rabuka and Lady Rabuka, the Deputy Speaker, to Asanate and your fellow CPRs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for extending the invitation to us. Tourism Fiji are very honoured to be partnering with this event. We're very focused on the importance of sustainability through best practice in waste management at our resorts and our hotels. It's very simple for us when we look at sustainability, and you might say, why does tourism want to get involved in sustainability? And we have a beautiful country, for those of you who've grown up here and those who are privileged enough to call Fiji home. It is a very beautiful place and we want to keep it that way, and that's why people are coming here. So therefore sustainability is so important for us. And our focus is on sustainable tourism and development that promotes Fiji's natural environment, the beautiful culture of Fiji, the authenticity, and at the same time addresses pertinent issues such as climate change. And yesterday, the Deputy Prime Minister and our Minister for Tourism talked about the excitement of when plastic first came to Fiji. But in his lifetime, we've now seen that plastic, of course, that we used to, or in his case, used to cherish and think was so exciting is now something that threatens that we need to deal with. And so from our perspective, we know that Fiji must ensure that our beautiful islands and our unique cultures are preserved for generations to come. We are stewards of this land, and we offer what the demand trends are shaping into and to keep up with the challenging markets. And as we all know, the tourism industry in Fiji is the largest industry, is a vital source of income. However, of course, with that increase in tourism comes an increase in waste, and therefore a responsibility to deal with that. It has a significant effect on the environment, including our oceans, our marine life, and our landfills. And that is why we are very committed to implementing sustainable waste management practices through the tourism industry. So therefore, it is a great pleasure to today announce that Tourism Fiji has joined with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, GSTC. It's a crucial move towards promoting sustainable tourism practices throughout Fiji, and the GSTC is an international organisation that establishes and promotes sustainable tourism standards. And its membership comprises of leading tourism destinations and companies from around the world that we now join. And by joining this, we are exhibiting our dedication towards the sustainable development of tourism. We will have access to the very best valuable resources and expertise, and we can help in the implementation of sustainable tourism practices. And we're very dedicated to doing that across our entire team. So today I wish to congratulate Amitesh and congratulate all of the amazing team at Pacific Recycling that we're so happy to partner with. We really appreciate the support and guidance of the government who are leading the way in promoting sustainable tourism practices. And I urge all here today and all across our industry to join us in this effort. Together, we can make a very positive impact on our environment and our communities and the future of tourism in Fiji. Vinakavaka level.
Vinaka, Mr. Hill. Our next a cappella performance originates from the Marshall Islands, telling a story of Marshallese men as they go fishing, for they are the breadwinner of the family. The song is titled Jedere. Naka.
Jedre bulon wajune Wa
work that we do at Pacific Recycling Foundation relies on effective partnerships across all spheres, especially with development partners, most of whom are in the room today. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Dawn Del Rio. She assumed her role as resident representative for UNDP Pacific Office in Fiji on 27 February 2023. Ms. Del Rio has over 25 years of experience in building effective democratic governance institutions and systems, coordination and development effectiveness, both at the country and global levels. Ms. Dawn Del Rio holds a master's degree in public administration and policy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite Ms. Del Rio to give her speech. Thank you.
The Honorable Prime Minister, Sitiveni Rabuka, my fellow speakers, Mr. Engin, Brent Hill, Alex Paxton, Edmish Deo, and of course, the Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Good morning to all of you, Nese Bulavanaka. I'm delighted to be here today with you today as part of to celebrate the Global Recycling Day. I'd like to first start off by acknowledging the commitment by the Fijian government in addressing plastic pollution in Fiji. From supporting today's event to pushing forward legally binding agreements to end global plastic pollution at the international level. It's been very encouraging in my short time here to see the involvement of many stakeholders that are here today to be able to address the plastic pollution problem here in Fiji. I want to give a special thanks, of course, to the Recycling Foundation for bringing us all together today. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can all agree that the plastic pollution has widespread environmental, social, health, and economic risks and serious implications on the development progress. As a result of the convenience from plastics, which we've all enjoyed over the years and thought it made our lives so much easier, today we have a serious plastic crisis. Today we find microplastics in our food, in the air that we breathe, in the water that we drink. Microplastics have been discovered on the Earth's highest peaks and in the deepest troughs. The good news, though, is that the pollution crisis is capturing global attention, and it's become a top priority. We acknowledge that there's a need for innovation, inclusivity, and sustainable solutions, and that these solutions are needed now more than ever. Last February in Nairobi, the United Nations Environmental Assembly gathered, and they signed a historic resolution that adopted an internationally legal binding instrument to end plastic pollution by the end of 2024. This global instrument will bring forward what is known as a circular economy approach, and that will support a sustainable production and consumption of plastics from the very beginning of the life cycle of plastic till the very end, and from product design to environmentally sound waste management. At UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, whom I'm here today to represent, we have what we call an ocean promise, and we've committed to supporting over 100 coastal counties, including all small island developing states, by helping to improve policies and regulations around plastic management. The plastic crisis, in particular concerning the Pacific Island countries, is significant because it threatens your oceans, the most precious resource in the Pacific. Oceans have always been an important source of food and transportation, livelihoods for generations in the Pacific and to the islanders of the Pacific. And we know that it's important to conserve and protect this very precious resource. In this regard, we at UNDP and Fiji are dedicated to supporting a sustainable and inclusive shift to a more circular economy for plastics. I'm here today with colleagues from our Accelerator Lab, and this is a team that works inside UNDP to try to tackle some of the most significant challenges we have in the Pacific and find solutions through experimentation. They've been working with the government of Fiji and many of you here today to be able to help find solutions. They started their work by conducting an ethnographic study here in Fiji and also in Vanuatu. And what they have done through that study is be able to help compile what we call baselines, the basic information and data needed to understand what is our current situation here in Fiji and the region. Together with the government, we then organized workshops with different stakeholders across the entire plastic value chain. This was held last year. In this workshop, participants co-designed a whole portfolio of potential solutions. We refer to these as experiments, and that what they do is contribute to an ability to shift to a more circular economy. The experiments covered a whole range of entry points along the plastic value chain, and they tested innovation for data collection methodologies. They conducted national surveys on strengthening plastic waste management policies and worked with local communities to streamline waste management systems. The systematic design workshops also brought forward the importance of ensuring both a just and inclusive transition to the circular economy. It's important that we recognize the vulnerabilities and the importance of groups that are often marginalized in this space, including women and youth, people living with disabilities, and importantly, people involved in the informal waste picking business. UNDP would like to acknowledge the efforts made by the Pacific Recycling Foundation in creating an empowering and safe space for these recently named coalition pillars of recycling that we've heard of today in our meeting. We recognize that many of these workers are women, people living in marginalized conditions, and members of the LGBTQIA+ community. UNDP here in the Pacific and Fiji are also very excited about the announcement of our partnership with the Pacific Recycling Foundation and being here today to launch and test the iCycling rehab bins with the hotels and resorts around Fiji. Learnings that we will capture from this initiative will help to inform the plastic waste management best practices for hotels and resorts across the country, and we hope the region, and potentially to design a sustainable and collectively replicable model that could be upscaled in other Pacific Island countries. We know tourism plays a very important role here in Fiji and to Fiji's economy. So it's really good to see so many of the industry's representatives here today and all committed to making big efforts towards sustainable practices. To this end, I would like to acknowledge the Sheraton Fiji Golf and Beach Resort as the first resort in Fiji to subscribe to the iRecycling Hub program, which will help to enhance plastic waste management capacity and boost recycling rates. On behalf of UNDP, we want to extend our great appreciation to the Sheraton Resort for its commitment. We're optimistic that other hotels and resorts will follow your lead, Sheraton, and also participate in this program. The creative innovation in the theme of the Global Recycling Day this year is very important for all of us, and I'm glad we could come together today to launch this important initiative and encourage others to follow practice. To conclude, dear friends in attendance today, we believe we can together make a difference and end plastic pollution. Thank you so much, and it's an honor to be here today with you all.
Thank you, Ms. Del Rio. Finally, the moment has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now witness a historic unveiling, a tailor-made solution for recycling, specially designed for the tourism industry. The iRecycle Hub, at the core of PRF's advocacy message, is a fundamental tool in terms of visible and practical participation in recycling. The iRecycle Hub program represents a unique concept that challenges the traditional views of recycling and aims to bring recycling to the very forefront of all operations. The concept has a monitoring and evaluation framework that collects data, provides feedback, and records lessons learned. By implementing the iRecycle Hub, organizations will also assist in building statistics that will be shared with various stakeholders, including the government, and for policy development. I would now like to request Mr. Amitesh Deo to please guide the Prime Minister, Honorable Sitiveni Rabuka, Ms. Del Rio and Mr. Brent Hill, and a representative of Sheraton, Fiji to proceed towards my far left for the unveiling. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister will now use the iRecycle hub by putting a recyclable inside the hub bin. And on that note, and as earlier highlighted, I can now officially announce that Sheraton, Fiji is the first resort that has taken on the iRecycle Hub program, and the learning and data collected from here will feed into a policy brief currently being co-designed by UNDP Accelerator Lab in Fiji. Ladies and gentlemen, our next entertainment is an a cappella titled We Leave Our Islands. This song has been the heart and soul of Malanga. One of the few original compositions by Associate Dean Pacific and Associate Professor at Massey University, College of Creative Arts, Professor Iglis Ete. Benaka.
Honorable Prime Minister, distinguished guests, the collection pillars of recycling and recycling advocates. Bula Vinaka, my name is Marissa, representing the UNDP Pacific Accelerator Lab. Waste Recyclers has been in the recycling space for nearly 30 years. So it's really quite surprising to find out how little people really know about Waste Recyclers. So I've decided to do the honors and give a very brief background. Waste Recyclers Limited is a privately owned company with over 28 years of experience in the recycling industry. 3 waste recycling facilities operate throughout Fiji. 2 recycling facilities are located in Lautoka and 1 in Lami. One of the core purposes of the facility is to ensure provision of a sustainable platform for communities, business houses, and stakeholders to dispose of their recyclables safely in line with government regulations and aligned with international best practices. This is achieved through a holistic approach to prudent recycling measures, which reduces the amount of waste recycles being burned, buried, and dumped in landfills, which have a huge negative impact on our carbon footprint. Their facility, together with the Pacific Recycling Foundation, has been in collaboration with Suva City Council in collecting recyclables in the municipal space, where it is involved in the collection, sorting, and processing of a wide range of recyclables, mostly from businesses that subscribe to its services on a user pay and reward system. The recyclables that are collected are then transported to the recycling facilities in one of the 3 branches for sorting and further processing before it is transported to overseas processing plants. Waste Recyclers Fiji and Pacific Recycling Foundation will soon be working very closely with USAID on some key initiatives and implementation within Fiji's capital city, Suva. In saying that, I would like to now introduce our next guest speaker, Mr. John Angin, Chief of Party for the USAID Clean Cities Blue Oceans program implemented by Tetra Tech. Mr. Jonathan Angin has more than 30 years of experience in the solid waste management and recycling industry, ranging from strategic planning and project development to direct operating experience. Over the course of his career, he has taken a leadership role in assisting both public and private sectors in building long-range sustainable strategies for solid waste management, collection, recovery, and disposal. He has been responsible for the development and oversight of multi-million-dollar publicly and privately held assets, including a variety of solid waste and recycling collection operations. For the past 15 years, he has been involved in solid waste planning and project development in developing economies, which have included the assessment of alternative conversion technologies, infrastructure, and of service and program funding models. Please welcome Mr. Jonathan Angin.
Thank you for that nice introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Mr. Prime Minister, ma'am, and our friends from Pacific Recycling Foundation, esteemed guests. It's a pleasure to be able to celebrate Global Recycling Day with you. I've been asked to talk a little bit about circular economy, and that's a pretty broad subject. In the interest of time, I'm going to have to do the speed version of that, but hopefully you'll bear with me. But before I do that, I want to make a point here because it is connected to circular economy. So if you are a member of the Recycling Champions group that's sitting here close to the front, would you please stand up? Don't worry, I won't call on you. This is how it's related. This is the connection that I want to try and make. You are the difference makers, because without your efforts, a circular economy cannot function to its full potential. So thank you for everything that you do to make the environment cleaner, to make your communities cleaner. You do make a difference every day, and people appreciate you. So why don't we go to the first slide, or next slide. So Clean Cities Blue Ocean, or CCBO as we're known, is USAID's flagship program to combat ocean plastic pollution. We're operating in 10 countries. We just actually added Fiji recently, so we're very happy to be here. Next slide. We are working at the local level to reduce plastic pollution, strengthen communities, and also mitigate climate change, among other things. Next slide. So what is the circular economy? And I'm going to focus here, again in the interest of time, on a few things that are really important. If you look towards the bottom of this chart, you'll see collection and processing, recycling, and reuse. And this is the area that we really focus on with our program. And it's so consistent with what you're trying to do with Pacific Recycling Foundation and WRFL. So this is a supply chain. The circular economy is a supply chain. And the supply chain only works to its full efficiency when you feed material into it, or you feed product into it. So the collection and aggregation, as well as the processing of the recycling material, is what makes the circular economy work. And there are other components of this. We start talking about putting trucks out on the street, people collecting door to door, that sort of thing, but also how do we process the material in facilities like material recovery facilities, which are becoming much more popular. I will caution there, so everybody would like to build a material recovery facility, but unless you are doing the collection and you can feed that material recovery facility, then it really isn't going to work to its fullest extent. So my point here is that all of these things work together. This is a process. Next slide. So how does Clean Cities Blue Ocean advance the circular economy? Well, first of all, we provide technical assistance at the local level. We have more than 60 technical people who do everything from landfill development to remediation of open dumps to collection. We do routing, we specify equipment, we build material recovery facilities, we design them and such. So we have people that we can bring in based on the need in the countries that we're working in. We also have a $12 million grant facility, which we provide to local organizations to develop proof of concept models that we hope will be replicated in the future by other programs. And then we foster partnerships at the local level as well, which is to say we work with private sector, we work with other organizations, NGOs, and that sort of thing to partner and pool resources so that we can move things forward. Next slide. We use a local systems approach, and I'll be quick on this one because it's kind of a busy slide, but there are all kinds of tools and resources that we have. But those tools and resources are not effective unless we have alignment from the stakeholders. First, we need to identify who the stakeholders are, and then we need to get them all together and make sure that we're getting alignment in order to really make things work properly. So this means national government, local government, local NGOs, and at the community level, it's so important to get all the right people involved. So this is part of how we do it. Next slide. One of the primary tenets of the way we work, and I heard a little bit from the UNDP speech a little bit earlier, is we go in and we actually do assessments at the local level. So we have a tool called the Solid Waste Capacity Index for local government, and what we do is we ask a series of questions at the local level to assess where they are, to provide a baseline of where they are with their solid waste management and recycling programs. And then this is not to be something that we scold people for or anything like that. It's just to find out where we are so that we can identify where the gaps are, where we need to spend more time. And then from there, we move into a solid waste management, more of a formal solid waste management program where we identify the opportunities and we begin to work on some of the deficiencies as well. Next slide. And by the way, we're starting that process shortly in Suva. This is an example of effective solid waste services at the local level. One of many examples we have. You see on the right-hand side there an overlay of a material recovery facility, very small scale, that we are currently developing in Metro Manila in the Philippines. This is intended to be right-sized for the community. We've seen many, many times over the years in international development, people want to build a 1,000-ton-a-day facility because that's what we do in other countries. There isn't 1,000 tons a day to take to a facility like that. So this is up to 25 tons per day, so it's relatively small. We've designed it based on the conditions that exist at the local level. The materials we know are going to flow through there. And the idea here is this is an aggregation model where we're cleaning up the material so that it can be sold into the market at its highest value. And this is actually going to be co-operated with a local city. So the city is actually going to own and operate this when we finish it. Next slide. Green jobs and local innovation. One of our grantees in the Maldives is piloting small-scale solid waste management. And one of the keys here is, the conditions, they're different no matter where you go. And it's not a one-size-fits-all sort of proposition. The conditions are always different. So what we're doing here is we're focused on reduce, reuse, recycle. We're actually looking at this from the perspective of that cultural context that we're working in. Very important to make sure that we're bringing those kinds of issues into play in order to be successful. And in fact, this program so far has been extremely successful. Next slide. Encouraging sustained behavior change at the local level. This is another grantee in the Maldives. And here we're using foundational research to determine what kind of social behavior change we want to do. Typically, social behavior change in the space that we're working in has been top down. So we do it this way in our country, so we think you should do it that way too. That's not what we do at CCBO. What we do is we ask the questions. We want to know why the behavior exists, because we can't really change it or help them until we have that kind of context. And what we find is that the solutions are different no matter where we go, based on the foundational research that we do. This, again, has actually been very successful. In fact, this organization I just saw the video this morning before I came here. They actually have launched their first video. It's actually a series of, I think, 5 or 6 different videos that they're putting out, talking about the process that they've gone through in order to achieve success. So really interesting. Next slide. And finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about our Women in Waste Economic Empowerment Program. There's some great things going on at WRFL, and we're doing similar things. We've trained more than 400 women so far in the Philippines and Indonesia on basic business skills. And about half of those people that we've trained have gone on to receive small loans and micro enterprise loans to start their own businesses, which includes equipment to make them more efficient. And we've also been focusing on trying to improve the working conditions by providing personal protective equipment. But also the big change is that we've increased livelihoods pretty substantially. So the women are actually making more, in some cases 30 to 40%, if not more than they were making previously. And that's all about efficiency and teaching them basic business principles and how to deal with their customers. Next slide. I'll leave you with this. Our results to date, we actually unfortunately lost 2 years to the pandemic, like a lot of other people, but we're pretty proud of the numbers that we've achieved so far in our countries, and these numbers are rising all the time. More than 400,000 metric tons of waste and recyclables has been secured and from leaking into the environment, and that number continues to be vertical as we're able to now spend much more time in the countries that we're working in. So I know that this presentation is going to be available, the entire presentation. It includes a couple of QR codes that allow you to go out to our website. We have a training platform that has multiple training videos on it, everything from our capacity index program to how to build a solid waste management plan, how to close a landfill, remediate a landfill, how to build a new landfill. There's a lot of information out there, as well as a number of different publications that we've done on a variety of issues that are relevant to the space that we're working in. So thank you again. Appreciate the time.
Kalevu, Mr. Engin. And we're really spoiled today because we have another performance from Manavia Group. They will be performing a Hindi song called Abhi Mujh Mein Kahin, and this song is about hope and emphasizes that even in the darkest moments, there is a reason for us to continue our journey and not give up on our dreams. This song reflects the life of the collection pillars of recycling and the journey of recycling advocates who have and continue to encounter stigma and pushback for their work.
अब है सामने इसे छू लो सरा मर जाओ या जी लूं जरा खुशियाँ चूम लूं या रो लूं जरा मर जाओ या जी लूं जरा हो धूप में जलते हुए तन को छाया पेड़ की मिल गई रूठे बच्चे की हंसी जैसे फुसलाने से फिर खिल गई कुछ ऐसा ही अब महसूस दिल को हो रहा है बरसों के पुराने जख्म पे मरहम लगा सा है कुछ ऐसा रहम इस लम्हे में है ये लम्हा कहाँ था मेरा अब है सामने इसे छू लूं जरा मर जाओ या जी लूं जरा खुशियाँ चूम लूं या रो लूं जरा मर जाओ या जी लूं जरा
Thank you, Manavia, for that beautiful performance. I'd now like to invite Mr. Prithvi Mishra of Waste Recyclers to deliver the vote of thanks.
The Honorable Prime Minister, invited guests, recycling advocates, and colleagues. On behalf of all CPRs, especially the women involved in waste picking, all recycling advocates, and our team, I would like to thank all our official partners for assisting us in taking our awareness and activism forward. These partners include Tourism Fiji, Swanage Shipping, Pacific Energy, Fiji National University, as well as support partners RC Manobai, Esco Motors, Pew Fiji, and PSP Life. We also wish to thank the Honorable Prime Minister, his lovely wife, and his team for being so supportive of our event and of in recycling in general. Our sincere gratitude to all guest speakers and all invited stakeholders and media partners. As mentioned by Amitesh, every year we make a promise to meet on the same day 1 year later. Therefore, we promise to meet you again on March 18, 2024, when we will talk about the progress we made with all the different programs we implement this year, all aligned with our long-term vision of generating enough recyclable volumes and one day being able to justify investment into local recycling facilities and provide green jobs for some of the CPRs engaged in waste picking. With that promise, I declare today's event officially closed, but please do join us for some lunch and informal discussion. Our team will be available near the iRecycle Hub for any questions that you might have in regard to this program. Thank you, and Vinaka Vakalevu.
Thank you very much, and that concludes today's formalities.